Welcome to Roofing Road Trips with Heidi. Explore the roofing industry through the eyes of a long-term professional within the trade. Listen for insights, interviews, and exciting news in the roofing industry today. Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Ellsworth here at rooferscoffeeshop.com, and we are back for a roofing road trip. And I have scooted over to Washington, D.C., the capital, to chat with NRCA professionals Deb and Duane. Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Glad to be chatting with you all and excited to be talking about Roofing Day 2024. It's coming up in, 2 months now? Crazy.
3 months.
3
Trying to
months.
count there, my math. Yeah. Don't rush
Coming up
us.
soon. So let's just dive right in and have Deb introduce yourself and then Duane introduce yourself.
Thanks, Megan. Deb Mazol with NRCA's DC office. I'm the Director of Federal Affairs here. And one of my main goals is to grow Roofing Day year after year and build on those relationships that our members make to make sure that the policy and laws put forward are beneficial and definitely not harmful to the industry as a whole.
Amazing. Yeah. Duane, how about you? Let's hear about you.
Sure. Duane Musser. I'm NRCA's Vice President of Government Relations. I've been with NRCA about 16 years now, back in the Washington, D.C. office, basically just working on all of the issues, the government policy issues that are important to our members and the broader roofing industry. And Roofing Day is our biggest advocacy event of the year. So we're real excited about the new year and that coming up right along the horizon.
Fabulous. Well, I am so excited to have you both on the podcast today. And let's kind of start out with you just telling us the history of Roofing Day. When did it start? And maybe what it means to each of you.
Yeah, thanks. So Roofing Day in DC on this scale started out in 2018. It was a fulfilled vision of then CEO Reed Ribble, former congressman, and he really understood intimately the value of being there, being seen, being heard, putting a story and a personal touch on all the policy goals that we have. So the first Roofing Day back in 2018 had upwards of 400 participants. Storming Capitol Hill, introducing ourselves on a much larger scale. Even to this day, although we're not quite at 400, we're one of the largest fly-in events in DC itself. For me, what it means is, as a former congressional staffer, I know how important it is to put that story with the policy goals, what it means to your business, what it means to your employees, and in the broader picture, what it means to your community. It's fun for me to plan kind of from the other side and share my tips and tricks of how to be successful. And then Duane and I and Terry throughout the year and all of our NRCA friends and team, we build on those relationships. So members help us get a foot in the door. And then we carry on that relationship throughout the year by tracking legislation, hosting, helping put together tours for members of Congress to visit job sites. And if something comes up, then members of Congress know that we're a resource for them to let them know how it would affect their district and their state.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I would just jump in and say Roofing Day is very meaningful because it's really NRCA and the broader industry at its best. As mentioned, as Deb mentioned, it's Roofing Day started in 2018. Before that, we did have a smaller advocacy event, but this is taking things to the next level. And it's just really been rewarding for me to see the impact that we do have through this event on Capitol Hill and some of the policy issues. And we can talk about that in a little bit. And it's also really rewarding when people come back and participate. They have fabulous experiences. And in particular with some of our field installers that have come back, it's been very meaningful for them to be able to go up on Capitol Hill, go in, meet with their members of Congress, and make a difference on behalf of their industry, their company, and their community, and that's just really rewarding to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's very magical, and all the members of, Roofers Coffee Shop that have gone and experienced Roofing Day have nothing but, you know, amazing things to say about it. So congrats on that. And since 2018, so coming up on 5 years, 6 years. So kind of, trailing off of that, why should new companies that have never attended or people that have never attended come and attend this year's Roofing Day?
Well, basically our theme this year is be seen and be heard. And that's because we really want to emphasize that that's what Roofing Day is all about. Deb and I and Terry Dorn, who also works with us, we are back here in Washington, D.C., working on behalf of the industry all the time. And we do develop relationships, but there are 535 members of Congress. And it's very critical that members of Congress see their constituents in person directly and hear them on the issues, see them up on Capitol Hill en masse. And because, in a democracy, numbers make a difference. And so we really just emphasize the fact that, this is our big event. This is kind of our Super Bowl of advocacy for the roofing industry. And we need people to participate, to come show up. And as I discussed a minute ago, I mean, it's usually a very rewarding experience for those who do attend, and it makes a difference on behalf of the industry and our companies.
Yeah. Deb, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I would just add, if you're a new company, don't be scared. We give you all the tools and tips and training that you need all in, about 2 days. We also have veteran attendees. Again, Duane said it's important for the numbers, but it's also important to come multiple years so that you can not only mentor younger companies or new attendees, but also to build on that relationship. As you can imagine, members of Congress have 10, 20 meetings a day. And so you guys kind of have to break through the noise. And the best way to do that is to show up frequently, but also to show up with a lot of people. That really helps amplify your voice. And Duane mentioned, again, you don't have to be an NRCA member to attend. It's a very industry-wide event. Our Roofing Day in DC Advisory Committee puts together the issues that we're going to focus on, the program that we're going to provide, the educational experiences, the tours. If you are interested in that, we help organize some tours. But I do want to stress it's important to attend. Most people, I haven't heard anyone say, wow, I went to Roofing Day and that was a waste of my time. Most people say, I was pleasantly surprised. My member of Congress heard what I was saying. I followed up with them throughout the year. They came to my business. They co-sponsored the bill. So I think that the numbers matter. Don't be scared if you're new. We have about 50% new people each year. So that's 50% people just like you, and the other 50% to help train you along the way. So if you can make it, we would love to have you.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure you're getting to meet your Congress members and also making friends along the way, basically, and mentors or networking. And that's never a bad thing. So why would you say it's important for roofing professionals to come together and speak about these industry issues, not only with their members of Congress, but with each other?
Definitely. So the roofing industry, and especially Roofing Day, represents everyone from contractors to manufacturers to field installers to consultants and architects, other associations. And each one of those groups all have priority issues that they care about. And there's probably 100 issues that the roofing industry, depending on the company, would really say that's my priority issue. But the one thing that's really great about Roofing Day is we decide on 1 or 2 issues that really embody all parts of the industry and something we all can agree on. So they tend to be less controversial, and they tend to affect all industries, whether you're a manufacturer, a contractor, or a field installer.
Yeah, absolutely. Duane, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I would just add, we emphasize the fact that we need to be together. There are disparate parts of the industry, and however, we're going up against other industries. We're going up against other interests within Washington, D.C. So it's important that we come together and speak with one voice, so our message gets through loud and clear. It is very competitive back here, and there's so many different issues going on. Members of Congress are pulled so many different ways. But by focusing on a few key issues and those that are a priority for our industry, that's how we can make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So kind of going off of making that difference, how much of an impact have you seen since starting Roofing Day in 2018?
Sure. We've seen a significant impact. More members of Congress, they see us up there in good numbers. So they know the industry shows up to be seen and be heard on an annual basis, and that's very important. A really good example, one of the issues where we have been able to make a difference is on a career and technical education, in particular the Perkins state grants that go from the federal funding that go to the state education departments and then are utilized for career and technical education programs, which is very important to our members' workforce development needs. And the first year of Roofing Day, back in 2018, we did advocate and make a priority of getting the Senate in particular at that time, get some legislation to reform and expand these career and technical education grants. And the House had already passed the legislation when we were here, and then we focused on the Senate, and that legislation passed a few months later. And so we were able to get that enacted into law. And now Congress has to fund those grant programs every year on an annual basis through the annual appropriations process. And so in subsequent roofing days, we've been able to advocate for greater funding for these improved programs. And we have seen increases. I believe the last year, the last fiscal year, we saw a $50 million increase in the amount of funding for those career and technical education programs. Wow. So that's one good example of how we've been able to basically have an impact.
Yeah, wow, 50 million. That's not chump change.
It is for the federal government.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Which is why we have to be here every year, because there's so much funding and so many issues being programs and whatnot being funded that we have to be in there and advocating for it.
Exactly. Deb, anything to add on changes you've seen since starting Roofing Day?
I think Duane did a really nice job. We all come up here, have the big picture. We're all walking around as a group. And even with, we meet maybe 160, 200 offices out of the 535. But that goes exponentially further when you're at the coffee shop and you see a bunch of people with red shirts. And then people start talking, oh, are you meeting with your roofers? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they came in this year. Let me follow up and see what roofing we have in the district. And so a lot of people, it's not just the meetings we have, but the overall reach within the industry. We also have speakers that are a bit of influential people on Capitol Hill. We'll do a chief of staff panel. So we might not be meeting with those offices, but then they'll go and back and tell their friends, look, I spoke on this panel. We had a great event, really enjoyed it. We also have this year, we're having someone from the Cook Political Report come in and speak. So just kind of being around and getting people interested, creating that buzz goes a long way as well.
Yeah. So you said you don't have meetings with all, 535. What states are you missing attendees from, if any?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. So I know last year we had I think 35 is either 34 states in DC or 35 states in DC. I forget the exact metric, but as you can imagine, a lot of the less populous states will get people from Wyoming. Sometimes we don't have anyone from Nebraska, Idaho. Oddly enough, the Carolinas tend to be a little sparse for us. So if you're listening from the Carolinas, we could really use you. Our top states I know are Florida. Oregon is up there, actually. You guys do such a good job getting your people there. But again, Illinois, California, Florida, Texas, Maryland, some of the closer and local proximity to DC. But if you're from a small state, we need you. Please come. Every new state we get, that's at least three meetings. And so we'd love to get those states. Every year we work to get 50. I think we've been right around 40 most years. So that's a goal of ours.
Mm-hmm. Hey, yeah, that's 90%. Wow. Okay, yeah. Thanks for answering that question. That was off the cuff. I was just curious.
Yeah, no problem.
So what are some of the key issues that y'all will be discussing this year on Capitol Hill?
Sure. I'll start off with talking about the workforce-focused issues, and then Deb can talk about some of the tax issues. Basically, workforce development has been one of the key issues facing our industry for many years now, and that has been a focus of Roofing Day events in the past, and will continue to be this year. We will be focused basically on three prongs of our policy issues to address workforce shortages. And number one is what I had talked about earlier with the Perkins Career and Technical Education state grants. We're going to be advocating for increased funding for those grants, which we have been doing and doing so successfully for the past number of years. And it's even more important now because, we have this thing out there called the federal budget deficit, and Congress is trying to rein in spending because they have to at some point. And so there is pressure to cut certain programs. And so now we find ourselves in a situation, we hope for an increase, but we may even be at this point fending off a decrease in funding because many programs are being targeted for decreases in funding purely for budgetary reasons. So that's why we have to continue on the Perkins Career and Technical Education grants. And then another key workforce issue is reform of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is also workforce development at the federal level, funding that goes to state programs that are focused on training for hard-to-employ individuals and also some veterans, but open to all people, really. And we want to get more people involved. We have seen some of our contractor members have some success with these programs in recent years to get funding for training of on the job and new workers. But we think a lot more could be done if the programs could be streamlined with less paperwork, more effective workforce boards that direct these programs at the state and local level, some more funding and recognition for competency-based programs that in terms of NRCA's track and pro certification, the new training and certification programs that we have. And basically, if we can have some improvements, and we have seen just recently here, legislation has been introduced and passed by a committee called the Stronger Workforce Act, which would include many of those reforms. So that's going to be the second prong of our workforce. And then the third prong is immigration reform that meets workforce needs. And we have what is called the Essential Workers for an Advanced Economy Act. And that is basically a new visa program which would match willing foreign workers when our domestic supply is not sufficient with contractors who need more workforce to meet that with immigration reform. And then there are also some immigration reforms with respect to certain people who are here on temporary protected status, and also those called Dreamers in the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program that we've also focused on. So a lot going on there with workforce because workforce is a big deal for our industry, but that's going to be our focus on the workforce side for Roofing Day this year.
Wow. That is so exciting, and this is going to be great. Wow. Okay, Deb, what are you chatting about?
Second pillar. Very
Second pillar.
Tax reform.
Woohoo!
Yep. So we're going to do two bills this year. One is particularly important to our contractor members that are organized as pass-through entities. And then another tax provision. Both are very popular that affect more of our manufacturing members. So the first one, we're going to again support at Roofing Day, the Main Street Tax Certainty Act. What that bill does is it makes permanent qualified business income deduction for those organized as a pass-through entities. So LLCs, S Corps, limited partnerships. Without this tax provision becoming permanent, At the end of 2025, a lot of our members would see a large tax increase that would put them at a disadvantage for larger C Corp, those businesses organized as C Corp. So a lot of pass-through entities are family businesses like ours, a lot of varied community involvement, legacy, Main Street businesses. So we're going to, again, support that bill and those efforts. We're building support right now because in the end of 2025, when a few of the tax provisions from the 2017 law expire, we want to make sure that everyone's educated on the bill and why it's important to their communities. Last Congress, about 30% of the House and Senate were new members. That comes new staff, and that comes an education hill to climb, particularly in tax issues that can tend to be a little bit more complicated, even if you follow it day to day. There's a lot of what ifs and buts, and well, if this happens, that happens. So working on that, and we've been really successful. We did this issue last year for Roofing Day, and prior to last year, in the last Congress, we had 99 co-sponsors of the bill.
Wow.
This year, throughout the last year of work that we've been doing to follow up on Roofing Day, we now have 160 co-sponsors in the House. So our goal
Wow.
is to get 200, and hopefully Roofing Day will help us do that. So working on that, but that's a huge win for us. And then the second bill of the tax side is the American Innovation and Research and Development Competitiveness Act. Now, it's very, very bipartisan on the Senate and the House side. And what this bill does is permanently restores the ability for a business to immediately deduct their R&D expenses. Recently, this moved from immediate to you have to amortize it over 5 years. So
Okay.
big for our manufacturing members to
Mhm.
be able to have that. It's also, the United States is one of the few countries that actually makes you spread it out over 5 years or 15, depending on what kind of business you are. So just restoring that is going to be really helpful. This change did pass a House committee this year, and they're working, the House chairman, who's a Republican, and the Senate chairman, who's a Democrat, are working together right now to put some sort of package together that would potentially include this. So it's ripe for us to really push once Congress this year, unless they continue kicking the can further down the road, which can certainly happen. In April, they're going to need some things to do once the funding, I shouldn't say debacle, but that's the word that's coming to mind. The funding fights are hopefully over, at least for this year, as well as some other expiring provisions. So those are the two tax pillars we're going to focus on. And I think with those issues and the workforce challenges, we really have a good swath of the industry as a whole, and really good bipartisan bills that have had a lot of work on the front end to be introduced or even pass committee. So I think it'll be just the right time for us to push it forward.
That's awesome. Yay, right timing. We love bipartisanship. So I know we kind of already touched on, what impact you've seen Roofing Day have, but what kind of progress have you seen on past Roofing Day issues that you've addressed and are now seeing the fruits of your labor?
Yeah, we did touch on that, but I would like to go a little bit further, especially with respect to the workforce. We have made workforce development issues a part of Roofing Day, whether it's career and technical education, immigration reform, every year with Roofing Day, because we know of the importance to our industry. And I will say, we do have a really good opportunity here this coming Roofing Day here coming up in April. I briefly mentioned it's HR 6655, a Stronger Workforce Act. This legislation has just been introduced back in December, and it was approved by a committee. And it would basically reform the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which I had mentioned.
Yeah.
But I did want to emphasize this, and you just mentioned, Megan, the importance of bipartisan bills. This is a truly bipartisan bill. It was introduced by Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, who's chairwoman of the House Education and Labor Committee, Education and Workforce Committee, and Congressman Bobby Scott, who's Democrat from Virginia. who's the ranking member, and it passed with all but one member voting for it. There was one member who voted against it for some reason. But given what we have seen with not as much bipartisanship in Congress in recent years, this is a really good development. And I think it does have to do with the fact that we've been back here every year talking about the need for bipartisan cooperation on workforce development issues. And this legislation really represents a whole year's worth of behind the scene negotiations among these members of Congress and their staff. And given the fact that you had a strong bipartisan vote coming out of committee, that bill's probably going to be on the House floor sometime around the time that we're here on Roofing Day. And then, of course, it also has to go through the Senate. So this is a really good example of where we're making progress, and we have a great opportunity to make more progress this year. So that's why we need lots of people. The more people we have come back, the more of an impact we can have.
Absolutely. Wow, that's really exciting. And it's so nice to see, your progress and the fruits of your labor, all the hard work that y'all have put in, come to fruition. So congratulations. That's really exciting. So moving on to this year, what is the plan? What is the schedule like for Roofing Day this year? What are we looking at?
Thanks, Megan. So it's going to be very similar to last year. We're going to start on a Tuesday afternoon. It's going to be April 16th is when we start. So save the date when you come for April 16th in the afternoon and all day on April 17th. We're going to start with registration as normal. We'll be back at the Grand Hyatt Washington, which we've been at the last couple of years, right in the heart of kind of downtown DC, close to a lot of good shopping and restaurants and gelato. So folks really like being there. Just about less than 2 miles from Capitol Hill as well. So not very far. We'll do more of a formal welcome presentation and opening remarks to just kind of set the stage for us this year before we move into advocacy training and issues briefing. So some combination of Duane and I or someone smarter than us will give a little briefing on how to talk to members of Congress, how to run your meeting, what to consider highlighting, personal stories you can add. And then an issues briefing that will just tell you, what the bills are, why they're important to the industry, why they might be important to your specific company, and then have the ability for folks to ask questions. And Duane and I will go back and forth a little bit about some of the more controversial questions you might ask us, or you might get asked, like, well, why don't you just pay your workers more? Or why do rich people need a big tax break? Things like that. I don't think most of our folks won't get asked that stuff, but we just want to make sure everyone's prepared. Then this year, we're bringing back kind of more formal team leaders and group meetings. So we're going to provide some space to get with your group that you're going to be having meetings with, talk about, okay, Megan, you're going to lead on this one because this member of Congress, or, well, you have a really great story and a field worker, so you're going to kind of lead off this meeting. Just gives you time to get more comfortable, especially for those new participants. And also exchange phone numbers and emails if you want, so you can really make sure you got your whole crew together for the next day. And then we'll do a cocktail reception. So everyone likes some nice snacks and drinks, and you can network with people, again, from across the industry. It's a bit like a baby IRE, right? Where you get to see everyone from everywhere, hopefully from all 50 states. And then everyone's going to get to bed nice and early because they have a busy day the next day. So again, we're just going to do like a nice breakfast, kick off, kind of just go over logistics and explain kind of the same things we talked about last year, but any last minute changes. We'll have a congressional keynote speaker. As we do every year, we'll have someone that's a champion in our issues. Hopefully, have a member of Congress who has lots of constituents there from their state or district. We're still kind of working to finalize that right now. A lot of folks don't like to talk to us until it's the actual year. We're trying to schedule because they just have so much on their plate. They kind of take it as they come. Then we do have our main speaker booked for this year, other than our congressional keynote. We have Dave Wasserman from the Cook Political Report to talk about the 2024 elections and how that might play into your business planning, play into your advocacy for the next year or two and beyond. And also, depending on our states, he'll dive into some of those state and local elections, local congressional level elections. So people from those states can kind of get a little preview of what they can expect as well. Then we'll have our senior congressional staff panel. So chief of staff, staff directors kind of give you best tips and tricks for your meetings and let folks ask questions of them. Then we're going to take a nice little break, allow people to just stretch and get ready for their meetings, maybe grab some lunch. And then we'll bus everyone up to Capitol Hill, take a big picture, which is kind of fun in front of the Capitol. And then we will go to our congressional meetings from about noon to 5, where NRCA and our partners that we consult with will schedule all your meetings for you. So you'll have access to your schedule in real time, as things have to move around a little bit, making sure you have time to get to everywhere you need to be and see everyone who you need to see. So we'll do that. And then we'll kind of head back on your own. We won't have the bus on the back end, but head back to the Grand Hyatt Washington for kind of a closing reception, final remarks, tape some bloopers and some testimonials to see how it went. And then we'll send you on your way. We're looking right now on Thursday. Historically, we've done a architectural walking tour. So we're looking to set that up again for those that are still around on Thursday, as well as just looking at some other special things that are available to the city that we can help facilitate for those that want to make it more of a, not just a professional trip, but kind of get some history and sightseeing in as well.
I know I've heard Heidi talk about the architectural walk, and anywhere you go with Heidi, she's pointing out roofs and architecture. So I'm sure she'll be all over that. So that sounds great, and really, really excited to hear all about it this year. Everyone out there listening, make sure you sign up. How can people get involved and register to attend?
Yep, definitely. So just go to our website. The registration is live now. It is www.nrca.org/roofing day. If you just go on NRCA's website, you can also click on advocacy and find the little roofing day tab. Again, registration is open. That one page has our registration link. Register early. We do have early bird pricing that expires on March 1st. You can book your hotel through our special NRCA Roofing Day rate. So we have that there, as well as our issue papers. We have our draft summary issue papers. So you can start learning about your issues. You can start researching your members of Congress on, I think it's findmyledge.gov, I want to say, but you can just type that into Google and you'll find it. As well as some of our videos and position papers from last year, pictures you can see to kind of get you excited. But it's April 16th and 17th. You can find us at nrca.net/roofing day. Correct me, Megan, if I said .com, but .net. I'm still getting
.net.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, Deb, Duane, this has been so amazing. It sounds like you really prepare the people that arrive and come and chat with the members of Congress. So for everyone out there listening, don't be afraid. Sign up, register. If you live in Nebraska, definitely come. Idaho, definitely come.
Exactly.
Any last words on Roofing Day 2024?
Yeah, I'll just to echo what you're saying. In particular, we did mention from some of the farther and more sparsely populated states, we need more folks to come on out, and we have a really good opportunity this year again to make a difference on behalf of our industry, and we need strong numbers to do that. So we need to have people sign up, and it is crafted so that new people can fit right in and hit the ground running.
Amazing. Well, thank you both for your time. This has been a blast chatting with you.
Thanks, Megan.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thank you for your support for Roofing Day.
Always. Thank you everyone for listening. This has been Roofing Road Trips from rooferscoffeeshop.com. Make sure to go to the podcast page on rooferscoffeeshop.com to hear more of our podcasts, and make sure to subscribe and notify when we get hit the bell so you get notified when we upload a new episode every week. Awesome. Duane, Deb, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Megan. Bye.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a review. Thanks for listening. This has been Roofing Road Trips with Heidi from therooferscoffeeshop.com.